Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we're looking at a super fascinating entry from author Eng's Notes on Fishkeeping. Specifically, we're unpacking a really interesting, kind of quirky biological and economic puzzle, what I like to call the price tag mystery of the Zonatus Cichlid. I mean, have you ever caught yourself wondering why some completely unremarkable tiny gray fish at your local aquarium store costs literally twice as much as the gorgeous, brightly colored ones swimming right next door? Well, Eng's observations actually give us the perfect case study to figure out exactly why.
So, 10 Malaysian ringgit. Eng points out a really great general rule of thumb when you're just browsing around local fish stores. Most of the cichlids you'll spot in the retail tanks, they're surprisingly affordable. They're usually priced right around that 10 ringgit mark, sometimes even less. It's a super accessible price point if you're a hobbyist just looking to, stock your home aquarium. But then, boom, we hit a twist. Over 20 ringgit. If you're checking out a tank and you see a variety crossing this mark, basically double the usual price, Eng notes there's actually a very specific reason for it. You see, you aren't just looking at an overpriced small fish. You're more than likely looking at the juvenile version of a much, much larger species. That higher price tag? It's basically a massive clue about the fish's genetic destiny.
Section 1. Meet the Zonatus Cichlid. Vieja-zonata, or as it's commonly known, the Zonatus Cichlid. Now, Eng actually explicitly notes that these fish didn't catch his eye because of their stunning looks. No, it was strictly because of that surprisingly high price tag. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that these guys are the absolute textbook definition of an ugly duckling. They start out as totally dull, unassuming juveniles, but they are genetically hardwired to grow into massive, vibrantly colorful tank centerpieces.
Section 2. The spectacular transformation. Based on the photos Eng reviewed online, the fish sitting in the shop are definitely juveniles. I mean, they have these simple silvery gray bodies and just a single prominent dark horizontal stripe. They're small and, frankly, they're just quite dull. But the adults, oh man, we're talking about a massive leap here, from a tiny gray fish to a magnificent absolute unit of a creature measuring anywhere from 25 to 35 centimeters. And when they finally hit that incredible size, they totally ditch that dull, silvery gray color palette. Instead, they develop these gorgeous, shimmering iridescent blue and teal scales. And to really finish off the look, they gain this beautiful, fiery reddish tint right around the throat and chest area. It is a complete, bottom-up, biological, and visual overhaul. Just stunning. In his notes, Eng describes this mature form absolutely perfectly. He says the adult Zonatus cichlid looks bulky, aggressive, and definitely a centerpiece of the tank. It completely sheds its sort of meh beginnings to become the undeniable king of its aquatic environment. Honestly, it's a spectacular animal that absolutely 100% justifies that initial mystery price tag. Section 3. The massive commitment. But of course, there is a catch. The massive tank commitment. So the crucial point is this. A fish that grows up to 35 centimeters, that's well over a foot long, by the way, simply cannot live in your standard run-of-the-mill starter aquarium. To properly house a fully grown vieja-zonata, you have to set up and maintain a seriously large tank. You really aren't just buying a little silvery fish here. You are committing to a major, major piece of aquatic infrastructure in your home. Section 4. The final verdict. So, returning to the ultimate question, would Eng actually bite the bullet and purchase one? His final verdict is pretty simple. Maybe, if I ever encounter them again. It's a very honest answer from a seasoned fish keeper, right? You can hear the clear hesitation because of the sheer scale of the commitment, but it's totally mixed with this undeniable intrigue about personally guiding that amazing transformation. Which naturally leaves us with this final question for you. Would you make the massive commitment for the Zonatus Cichlid? Like, if you were in that shop and saw that tiny, dull fish with the 20 ringgit price tag, would you actually take on the challenge of that ugly duckling project just to reveal the iridescent blue giant hidden inside? It really is a fascinating look into the kind of foresight required in this hobby. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep your eyes wide open the next time you look at a price tag.